this is the course series, The Kingdom Principle of Hidden Treasures. And this is class number 3 of 5. And tonight we're going to be talking about the power of potential. The power of potential as a hidden treasure on the inside of us. And, I want to start with 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verses 12 and 13. It says there, this is very important, the Apostle Paul is speaking. We dare not make ourselves of the number or compare ourselves with some who commend themselves. But they, measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves, are not wise. But we will not boast of things outside of our measure. Another word for measure is potential. We will not measure ourselves, or not boast ourselves outside of our measure, but according to the measure of the rule which God has distributed to us, a measure to reach even unto you. The Apostle Paul was writing this to the Corinthians because there were those complaining. He was dealing with those complaining that he was infringing on their territory. See, competition was even evident back then. And he was saying, I'm not infringing on your territory. We all have a part in this. And this is important to understand and important to note when we talk about measure, when we talk about our potential, what it really means. So the word measure is the Greek word metron. Metron, which determines the portion that we have. It is our potential, which is what we're talking about tonight when we talk about measure. It's our capacity to contain. It's our capacity to contain, literally. But it's also the measure or capacity to pour out. It is very important we understand potential is not just to contain, but it is also a measure to pour out effectively. So this is why the Apostle Paul said to the Ephesians in chapter 4 and verse 13, we read, till we come to the measure or the potential of the stature of the fullness of Christ. He gave us, as he said in the verses preceding, he said he gave some apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors, some teachers, these gifts to bring us into maturity, into the fullness of the measure of the stature of Christ. That is our plumb line, if you will. That is our goal, to reach the stature, the measure of the stature of Christ, who is the example of who God is in us. So, the dictionary definition, if you will write this down, or if you've got your sheet there, take note. The dictionary definition of potential is to develop something to capacity, or the capacity to develop something. But the dictionary also defines potential as latent qualities, inactive qualities. But if you're like me, you want to know the Bible definition of potential. And while it's not found, the word is not found in the King James, it definitely is all over the place with what it means. The Bible definition of potential is promise. See, the promise of God is absolute. Potential is prophetic. It speaks ahead to what God said he already gave us until it manifests. Potential is possibilities. With God, all things are possible. And potential is the capacity of power. The capacity of power. So, This is so important. I want you to hear this. Potential is not confirmed by your gift or your talent. Potential is not confirmed by your gift or your talent. But we're going to see what confirms our potential. We're going to start with one that maybe we would rather skip. We are actually confirmed in our potential by these things, these four things. They may not be things you would think of when you say, this is how I want to confirm my potential. We actually see our potential confirmed by persecution. What? How can that be, Dr. Rick? Persecution confirms my potential? Yes. And here are the four ways that persecution does that. First, number one, through adversaries. I know most of us would just like to get rid of the adversaries, right? But actually your purpose, or your potential and your purpose, is being confirmed and galvanized when there's adversaries. This is why 1 Corinthians 6:19, the Apostle Paul said, a great door is open unto me, and there are adversaries. They are adverse to you going through the threshold of what you're about to go through. Your next level is here. And there will always be adversaries that the enemy sends that will be opposed to you going through and try to make you think you're not there yet. But it actually confirms your potential. Number two, not only adversaries, but obstacles. Jesus said, and it's recorded in Mark 11:23, that with even a mustard seed of faith, you can remove mountains. So your strength is actually beginning to manifest in removing the mountain, not by focusing on the mountain, but by simply the mustard seed of faith that has the ability to remove it. How can you remove it? Because it got moved the wrong place, and you're simply removing it out of the way. So, number one, adversaries. Number two, obstacles. But what else is actually confirming my potential in this persecution? Number three, tests and trials. This is why 1 Peter 1:7 says the trial of our faith is more precious than gold. The trial of our faith. See, it's our faith that is on trial, not us. It's our faith that's being tested, not us. However, how we respond will involve us. But your potential meets that and immediately passes the test. Well, maybe I shouldn't say immediately. Sometimes it is a process. But number four of what actually confirms your potential, even in the midst of persecution, is dying to self. The more we die to who we're not, the more we can live to who God says we are. This is why Galatians 2:20, it says, I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live. But not I, but I live. It's the Christ that lives in me. Amen. So, persecution, adversaries, obstacles, tests and trials, dying to self, are actually part of the process of galvanizing and confirming your potential. It wouldn't even be manifesting unless these things were there to begin to show you that potential is evident. So very important. So, how do I know my potential? Well, it's found in number two as we go into this next thing. It's by your purpose. I want to say this so you understand. Assignments may change, but purpose unfolds. Your assignments change, but your purpose doesn't change. It simply unfolds. Meaning, you begin to reveal your measure and power through the unfolding of purpose. Purpose is not first what you do. Purpose is first who and why you are. That will produce what you do. So purpose, I'm going to go slow on this. Purpose appoints. God-ordained purpose is what I'm talking about. Your God-ordained purpose appoints. It authorizes us. And when we're authorized by our blueprinted design. We are authorized to our blueprinted potential. Your potential isn't just made up as you go along. God ordained your potential before you were born. But you have to walk it out. So, the biblical word for potential, another one, is power. But not first the dunamis. I should say not first the dunamis or the charisma. We're talking about the authorization. In other words, another word for potential is potent. Potential doesn't mean wouldn't be great if or maybe. No, potential means potent. You already have the power, the authorization of God on the inside of you through process to begin to manifest it through you. So, it must begin with purpose. Purpose is so very important. The Greek word for purpose, as you've probably heard me say before, is prothesis. Prothesis. So, purpose is first, as I said, who and why you are, before it's what you do. A lot of people are trying to do great things and calling it their purpose, when really it might just be a passion. But passion might be a what, but purpose is a who and a why. So passion cannot drive purpose, or else it might become lust. Purpose must drive passion for it to be set in order. So, God is perfecting us. He sees us already perfect or complete, but we are being perfected into that we have called perfect in us. So, Matthew 5:48, Jesus said, "Be perfect as I am perfect." And all right, had a phone call. Hopefully you're still there. This is so important that we understand that we are being perfected in that potential. So, how am I being perfected? By prophetic promise. God prophesied, literally, who you were before you were actually manifested. So, I am literally a prophetic process being cultivated. So, this is why in Jeremiah, chapter 1 and verse 10, we've read many times, God said to Jeremiah, "Before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you." I knew you. So, this is why I think we need to understand that prophecy has to be God's voice. Prophecy can't just be a made up, well, gee, maybe you'll do this and do that. No, prophecy has to fit in the tapestry of God's overall plan. So, it's involving promise. Your potential is involved in prophetic promise. In other words, all you need is in you to fulfill what God wants to manifest through you. So, we are partakers of His divine nature. This is so very important. This gives us position so that we can be representations of who He is and have that potential like it's in a sealed vault, a time-release vault, that when God knows that potential needs to manifest, the vault opens and the treasures are displayed to manifest His power, to give Him glory, His authorization. So, this is why Ephesians 3:20 says, "Now unto God who is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that you can ask or think, but it's according to the power, the authorization of God's potential that is working in you. I'm convinced none of us, including myself, have reached my full capacity. I'm full, but I have not reached the understanding of how that fullness is being processed to become overflow. Yeah, that's very important. You can't know the fullness of potential until you release it. Otherwise, potential, if it stays within inside of you, will just become a stagnant pond of would have been or could have been. What we need to know is potential can only be activated when we release it. Because the potential, the purpose, everything we have is not just for us. It's not even really just about us. We can enjoy it. We are carriers of it. But it's for those that we are going to be pouring into or helping to dig the treasure from. This is so important. So we need people. That's the third part of this. Potential needs people. I know there's been times in ministry where I thought, man, I could do it without a few people that have come across my path. I'm sure you have too. But the fact is, you even need those that are sandpaper. You need all of those that come, that God allows to come into your path. And then God will help you to discern who and why they are there. So, there's a measure that contains a potential that is about you as a container that is in you. But then there is a potential. There is a measure of how you pour through you. Don't cast your pearls before swine. But know, as God begins to give the wisdom to that potential, how to release the treasure that's on the inside of you and to pour it out. So, you need to understand that God has ordained you. He appoints you. He affirms you. He assigns you. And He activates His word in you. You are ordained of God before you were even born. Now, there will be those in authorization, in levels of representation in the kingdom, leaders, spiritual fathers, those in offices that will confirm the ordination into levels of activation. But you as a person were ordained by God. Man can't ordain you as a person of God. God ordained you in who you are before you were born. And then as you go along, He will bring those that are in leadership that are truly His representation. We must have those that are elders of representation in God that will confirm or begin to activate those ordinations of avenues that we walk in. So it is vitally important that you do not just send yourself. We must have those who recognize a level or a position or an assignment of manifestation in us. So those things are very, very necessary. So not all that are ordained preach sermons or lead churches. But God has ordained some into spheres of impacting the world directly with unique purpose to disciple nations. So God's perfecting us in our potential is vitally necessary. We need those around us that will help perfect this as God uses them. We need those that will recognize the ordination we have as men and women of God, as sons of God, as ambassadors of the kingdom, that will realize that we need to be ordained into positions that God will show those who we are accountable to. But God has ordained you as a person before you were even born. So, God's perfecting us into our potential includes correction, but not focused on what we've done wrong. A lot of people don't like the word accountability because they always associate it with, well, am I in trouble? No, if you're truly accountable, it will keep you out of trouble. It will keep your potential pure, your passion pure, your purpose pure. And you will begin to have more effectiveness because you operate in that kind of accountability in God's order. So it's not about that you did something wrong. Being perfected isn't about, well, I was wrong and now he's got to make me right. No, you were right in the beginning. Adam's trespass brought us into a wrong place. God is just returning you back to your original blueprint, to where your potential really is. Don't let your talent or your gifting define your potential. Potential measure must come through us as well as be in us. And that involves other people. Please understand what I'm saying today. This is why we need corporate embassy or corporate church function. We need to know our company. We need to know those that God has put in our path that sharpen us. That they're not just saying yes to everything we do, but they sharpen us. To those that are walking with us and we're walking with them. Complementing, not competing. Ephesians 4:16, and I close with this today. It says, from whom the whole body becomes fitly framed together and compacted, fitly framed, and compacted by that which every joint supplies, according to the effectual working of the measure in every part, not just one part, but in every part, making increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. In love. And your potential has to be centered on the love of God. Being knit together with those that God has put together with you so that you can really develop, cultivate, and begin to understand the fullness of your potential. Not to just keep it, but to release it. I want to say thank you to everybody who jumped on here in this afternoon special edition of the Destiny Group Mentor School, because last night, as I said, the recording stopped with the sound, so we couldn't get it all out online. So I'm doing this today to make sure you all get it, and hopefully you heard my heart, but more than that, you heard the heart of God in me. Share with you that you and I have hidden treasure we haven't even tapped into yet. And you know what? Your capacity is full, but you may not have even fully understood how full it is. But God's going to reveal it to you through the process that we talked about today.